Hey everybody, welcome back to Expedition U. Jason Franklin here, as always, with producer Jack. Say hi, Jack.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
All right, and we are very honored, actually. I met this next guest, James, at a EXP conference for a EXP Realty, and just kind of hit it off, eating lunch on. I think what were we at? Were we in Florida, right?
Yeah, Orlando.
That's right. And anyway, so I mean, James brings a very eclectic. I think the eclectic is the right word, right? Kind of a mismatch of kind of figuring out where to be, what to do. So I mean, and quote me, tell me if I'm wrong here, but on our intro stuff, you're kind of just giving a real quick. Went from homeless to selling homes, worked with the Harlem Globetrotter organization, and worked in the professional music entertainment industry. Did I get all that right?
Yep, that's it.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, so what we do here at Expedition U is we really like to kind of break down where you're from, kind of like a 2-minute, this is me backlog story, and kind of where you went from, how you got from where you were to where you are, who built into you, kind of like if you could find that one person somewhere in your life where you're like, man, if I hadn't known that guy, or if it hadn't been for this person, a mom, dad, brother, cousin, some dude you worked for, whatever, I wouldn't be here. But even more importantly is as we continue to grow and develop in our personal journey, who are you bringing along with you? Who are you trying to uplift, and who are you trying to take along? So, go ahead and give us your backstory. I mean, where are you from? Where are you at? What are you going for?
So a little bit about me is I am born in Los Angeles, California. After my parents retired, we moved to a small town called Dry Prong, Louisiana. And the best way that I like to always explain it is that it's the only parish in the city or in the state that doesn't have a red light. So that's a pretty cool fun fact. But I started off, in the sticks of the sticks, super country. And after I finished high school, I went down to Baton Rouge, went to school. And then that's when music became, hey, I like music. And, a friend asked me if I wanted to DJ. And so that's how it all began. But I took music in a way to meet people, make friends, and it eventually turned into, excuse me, the first DJ for LSU athletics. And nice. Then that turned into, DJing around like a lot of the clubs, the bars around town. And then that elevated into me getting into radio. So I got into radio.
What age are you right there in that category? I mean, you're like 20, 22?
Yeah, I was around 20, around that 20 to 22 range. And so
you had the entrepreneurial bug from like early on.
Yeah, since I was, pretty young, but I never really understood that it was a business until the LSU opportunity came. And so I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'm pretty good at this. Let's give it a shot. But it took off, and then, my name got around town. But I forgot, very important fact. While I was in Baton Rouge, I lost everything. I had that opportunity where my parents said, hey, you can come home. And I chose not to. And instead, I stayed in a Motel 6 on Segan Lane. And I stayed there for 7 days. And then I finally was able to get my own place. I locked myself away from all of my friends and family for about 7 months. And then I came back out as the DJ Def. And so, but during that time, as I came up with that name, a friend of mine who I started with in the music business he said, hey, we're making acronyms for our names, and I want you to make one for yours. And I'll never forget it. I went into that hotel room and laid on the bed, cried my eyes out. And next thing you know, don't ever accept failure came. And that is, a mantra for DJ Def. And I have said that to myself every single day since that day I was there. But I've been fortunate to let music, it went into radio, went into the clubs. It brought me all over, the state at that time. And then I said, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. And I got into real estate. I was like, oh, okay, I'm a pretty cool guy and I can do all this stuff. And everyone is going to work with me because I'm DJ Def. And as soon as I got my license, nobody worked with me. So it was trying to balance, because I was trying to play this, Clark Kent and Superman guy. I don't want you to know that I'm that kind of person. But after a while, I just said, you know what, I'm gonna be me and I'm gonna let it all go. And I'm gonna just take this for how it is. I eventually, about 6 months later, got my license in Texas because I was in a relationship that was bringing me here to Dallas. And the relationship didn't work out. And I fell, downhill, got broke, lost everything. And during that time, that's when I started to say, okay, this is what I need to do. So I started, getting more solid with my faith because my dad, he was a preacher. So I got solid with my faith. I started writing. I cut out a lot of, extracurricular things that I was doing. And then after that, my sister passed away. And next thing you know, I went out to LA and I was talking with my friend that works for Def Jam. He said, man, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to travel the world. I said, I want to travel and DJ and do real estate. And in that moment, my phone rang. I was working with a client, which was one of my biggest sales at the time. And I said, that's how I'm going to do it. And he's like, he was confused. And I said, if I have internet, a phone, and a laptop, I can do anything I want to. And about 2 weeks later, I got a call that changed my entire life. It was the Globetrotters. And they said, hey, you want to come on tour? And I was like, yeah, sure, whenever. And they said, all right, I'll see you Wednesday. And on a Monday, this was the call that happened. And I'm like, okay, see you next week. They're like, no, we'll see you in 2 days. So I was like, I have all of these things going on with real estate and this.
It doesn't
and
really
that.
work for me.
Yeah. So I remember calling my best friend, and I was like, hey, man, I got this opportunity. Do you think I should take it? And he's like, I don't even know why you're calling me. I'm going to the
I knew that
movies.
was coming.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm over here feeling sorry for myself. And he was like, yeah, I'm going into the movies. We'll talk later. Bye. And after that moment, my parents, they came and helped me get all of my stuff out. And my mom looked me dead in the eye and she said, this is what you asked for. And from that moment on, I did shows all over the world. In that period of time, I did about 150 shows, 22 to 25 countries, but I was doing real estate in Texas and Louisiana at the time. So
Wow.
I learned how to, you know what, I don't need an office. I don't need to do what everybody is telling you to do. And I'm going to put a twist on it because I'm a DJ and I'm a realtor. And my name is James Def Merritt. So you can take it or you can leave it. I'm going to be myself and I'm going to have fun doing it. And I never lied to anyone, but, it brought me, to where I am now. So I guess
It's funny. It's funny
Huh?
that you mentioned what your mom said to you about, this is what you asked for. I learned very early in life, because I pray regularly. I have I consider a good faith base. My language probably wouldn't reflect that sometimes because I tend to curse a lot, but I learned very early on that I am very specific in what I pray for. Because I learned
Yes.
many, many years ago that if you ask very vaguely, God will give you his version of what he thinks you need. And so I stopped making vague prayers because I got what I wanted, but it usually wasn't in the fashion that I had hoped for, so I got very specific in what it was that I was asking for, or what I asked for help in.
100%.
But the joke in my house, and this is not well received by everybody, but I have long since said that I'm a middle-aged white dude in Texas, in America. I don't really have a whole lot to ask for. I kind of I hit the spot, so like anything I want is pretty much out there if I'm willing to work for it. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is there's so many people in Houston and Dallas and Texas, in America, in the world that, man, everything that they have is such a struggle. Right. I mean, they have to fight and scrape and claw for everything, and we have so many opportunities in front of us, and it just, I think that, and this it's a very hot topic. In fact, I was actually just doing a refresh. I was looking at your Facebook page this morning, and I saw that you had some thoughts on that new Bank of America program. And
Yeah.
and there's, I mean, they got blown up on social media over that, but then at the same
Yeah.
time, I saw comments on there. They're like, what about a program for middle-aged or middle income white people? And I was like, bro, I think that's like every other program in the world.
Yeah. think you got it right there. So,
I think you're okay. Just improve your credit score and start paying your bills on time. You'll be all right.
yeah.
But so talked about so obviously you did a lot of traveling with your with DJing, and then that gave you the exposure through your relationships to work with the Globetrotters and traveled all over the world. How has that shaped your view? I mean, so it's one thing, like we live in this such a secular community, right? Los Angeles is Los Angeles, and Houston's the fourth largest city in the nation. But if you put Houston and Los Angeles next to each other, they're polar opposites. You might as well be in different countries, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just community, vibe, feel, language, art, everything's completely different. So, living in Los Angeles and then living in Louisiana, first of all, those two are just like night and day, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And then you go out and you travel the world, and then you come home to Texas. Did that have an effect on how you see things?
Absolutely. At 100%, 1,000%. Because where I come from, and a lot of my friends in high school that I grew up with, they, you graduate, you work there and you get married, and then that's pretty much your life. Or, some people go to, school, but some people come back, some people stay away. But it had such a strong impact on how I viewed, the world, and how I viewed, everything, is because I always wanted to stay grounded in who I am. I know where I come from. I know the people that have supported me. I know there's people out there that support me just to see me fail. And then I know that there's people that support me because they truly want the best for me. But it really taught me that, just because you're in one area, like there's so many different walks of life out there, and you can learn from them, they can learn from you, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. So as far as my appreciation for the Globetrotters is I can't put it into words because of all of the things that they were able to do for me. And they just exposed me to a different perspective of life, and that also helped me transition into how I do things in real estate. How do I become a leader? How do I, break the ice with, different people that I may not have been able to? And one of my
Sure.
biggest icebreakers with people is I can see something, or I can listen to them, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I've been there before. And they're like, oh, you have? And it's like, it might be a small town. And they're like, yeah, well, I used to travel with the Globetrotters. And they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, it's what I used to do. And I'm thankful for it, because I never have really truly saw it as a really big deal. But, of course, now, as I'm outside of that, I realize how big of a deal it was, because that organization was so much bigger than me. And I was part of something that has embarked on, impacted so many millions of people all over the world.
Sure. Well, I don't know that, but the thing is I mean, the association with that organization is
Yeah.
always one that makes you smile, right? I mean,
Yeah.
because it's fun and it's active. I mean, nobody's like, damn Globetrotters. I mean, there's nobody that doesn't like the Globetrotters. They either don't know who they
Right.
are or they like them, right? I mean, there's no in
Exactly.
between, I mean, so that's cool. I mean, so you started real estate early and then didn't ramp up immediately, right? I mean, it's something that you were in, and then you had some other focuses and you were working on it, but then you came in heavy. How long ago?
I would say, it's crazy, because I would say 2020 is whenever I said that, this is when I'm a buckle down. And if it wasn't for COVID, I probably would still be bouncing around. And I hold on to this video that I have in my phone. And it was on Christmas Day when my dad brought me down for what was my last tour. And I was saying the whole entire time, this is my last tour. I am not going back. And I did a video for it. And sure enough, while I'm out there on the road, I was still kind of, hands in different areas. And then I made the decision, like, you know what, I am going to come back. And I feel like, God's put his foot in the way and said, hey, nah, I'm not letting you do that. And so I got sent home just like the rest of everyone else. And I was
Sure.
like, you know what? I need to be more tangible. If I really want to make this a success, I need to be more tangible to people, just because they see what I can do away, but what can I do, while I'm here? What can I do if I can actually get
Sure.
in the truck and go? And so it's really truly helped me. So 2020 was really the start of it. And then, going into, the next year, I joined EXP at that time. And from then on, it was just, indescribable, because I was able to work with quite a few people that helped me elevate to reach that icon level.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, because only about 2% of the agents like EXP. I mean, this isn't an EXP commercial, but I mean, at the same time, EXP is the fastest growing brokerage. 3 years ago, they had 30,000 agents. Now they've got like 85,000 agents, and only 2% of those agents make icon level, right? I mean, now you have to
Yeah.
take out the part timers, I got my real estate license because I didn't want to pay a commission. I mean, you got all those people in the lower aspect of our business. But even if you were just to look across the board as the real estate industry as a whole, I think the last time I looked, the average annual income for a realtor is like $48,000 a year, right? Like I couldn't
Yeah.
pay my house note with 50 grand a year, right? I mean, so it's
Yeah.
like mediocrity. I had this tagline, which is not sexy, but it's mediocrity sucks, right? I
Yeah.
don't want to be average. Average is 40 pounds overweight and on a government program. I don't,
Yeah.
that's not the life that I want to build for myself, for my wife, for my kids. Well, not for my kids anymore. They're all gone, but still, you know, so who was it, if you just like 5 seconds had to pick the person that you said, man, I mean, and okay, you can't cheat and say your mom and dad. All right. I'm sure your
Okay.
parents are amazing, but other than mom and dad, if you had to pick that one person, like, man, if that person had not been there, if they hadn't fed into me, I wouldn't be who I am today. Who is that?
Well, God. If it is my parents, it's God first. And but outside of that, human being is my best friend Raymond, Raymond Griffin. He is, a lot of, some of the things that he's done. It kind of, it's like people say, you are who you hang around with. And one of those things, it's like it's not, it's not sexy, but it's real. Is I don't want to hang around losers. And so I want to be great. I don't want to, if you're sitting there feeling sorry for yourself 100% of the time, do not be around me. Like, I don't want to be around that. And so
That's
it's,
so important.
yeah,
That's so important. A lot of people don't recognize that, because especially, and even more so in a best friend, right? Because depending on how long you've known them, I've got friends that I've been friends with since sixth grade. And I mean, I'm 48, so that's been a minute, right? I mean, so I've
yeah,
been friends with people for 30 years or longer, actually. And the thing is that you get so used to personality types of being around these people, that to be able to kind of step outside and really look and go, is this a healthy investment of my time, of my resources, of my life? Are they feeding into me? Something I say here in our office is that everyone in your life is either feeding you or feasting on you,
right.
right? I mean, they're either putting into you or they're taking from you. And I think that the
100.
ability to recognize that, and your ability to say, hey, that person for me outside of God, mom and dad is my best friend, dude, that's awesome. I mean, that's huge. To know that I can enjoy our time and it's going to be positive. We're both on the way up. No matter where I'm at, I'm always on the way up. I mean, and I've been backwards, I've been forwards. I've got stories like yours. I did a lot of drugs when I was really young, and I remember standing outside my drug dealer's house when I was 17 and looking around. I mean, and like I came from a white picket fence, 2.5 kids, parents are still married, still love each other, and I made those decisions that ended me up in those weird places that I shouldn't have been. And by the grace of God, I met my wife in that really, really bad time of my life. And she just elevated me and picked me up and was like, yeah, no, you're better than this. You need to quit that, and brought me up. And 27 years later, here we are, with, still married, still love my wife, got 3 amazing kids, running in a successful business and all these other things. But I think, to go back to what you're talking about, is having that person that is constantly feeding into you. And even when they're not feeding in you directly, they're challenging you, right?
For
I'm
sure.
assuming, I mean, you've got a relationship like that with your friend, I'm sure, where they're like, you know, if they see you make a left when they know you should have gone right, they're going to call you out on the carpet.
Oh, he'll tell me straight up. He's like, dude, well, he is probably the most honest, brutally honest person that I've ever met.
So is my wife.
And there are times where I'm like, dude, I don't like this, but you know, it's true. And you know, he's told me that time and time again. He's like, man, you're that's stupid. Why are you doing that? Why? Like, no. And you have to have people like that, because everyone, most everyone wants to be that, oh yeah, the yes man, you know, and they don't want to tell you everything, but you have to have that person that's going to be like, look, bring you back down to life, and hey, you're making an idiot out of yourself, and you have to do like a lot better than what you're doing, because I know that you can.
So that's an interesting statement, and I'm going to put you on the spot. How do you take that same relationship and build that into your business? Because, and again, I'm not dogging my clients, but we've all had those clients that make dumb decisions, or, you know, they're not writing when they should, or they're not making offers, or they, you know, they come in with a ridiculous value. I mean, so how do you approach working with clients? And like you said, you know, keeping it real. I mean, you don't want to burn the client, but at the same time, you're setting a reasonable expectation, because that's a pitfall for a lot of new agents, is that, like you said, they turn into yes men, right? Yes, I can list it for that. Yes, I'll show you 45 houses. You know, yes, I'll do this. And they're not valuing their capabilities, their time, their resources. So how do you parlay that line of thinking into your business?
I like to set the expectation before we get started, because, you know, I don't want to go out there and open, you know, 40 doors. You know, I want to make it sure that we're specific, you know, and getting down to the point. But and that's something that has been a challenge for me, because I tell a few of my friends, I'm like, I don't want to be the 2016 DJ Def at 1:30 in the morning on a microphone calling everyone out just because I'm drunk, and you know, I can do that because I have that power. I want to make sure that I'm, you know, channeling my energy and making sure I'm presenting it to you in a way that you understand. So I always try and, you know, just make sure they understand, like, hey, you know, this is, be realistic about where we at, what are we doing, and, you know, making sure that you are comfortable with the decisions that you're making. But what we won't do is we won't like compare this to selling OC, or, you know, like anything like that. I'm not about to do that.
You can see 3 houses, then you have to pick one.
Yeah. And then we're going to offer 1.49999. No, that is not how this goes.
So, I mean, that's interesting that you say that, because I mean, the thing is I love the fact that, and kind of what I hear, or at least maybe this is just a preconceived thought, is that you're using a lot of qualifying criteria, right? You know, my wife, I use, one of the big things in my life that I do constantly is what I call pre-framing, right? You know, so I pre-frame a conversation, I pre-frame everything to the point that my wife's like, and I'll be talking to her about something and I'm still in work mode, and she'll like, stop pre-framing me and tell me what you want. You know, it's like I get caught doing it at home and I get in trouble. You know, but I think that's so important, because I think a lot of agents, and not even agents, let's not even qualify it there, it's because anybody that's listening to this podcast that's in business, you know, you have that fear wall, right? I don't want to say that, or I don't want to ask them that, because, you know, that might upset them, or that might hurt their feelings, or that might do this, or I don't want to ask them if they have the money, because that just sounds rude, you know, or, you know, and so getting past that fear wall by having a series of qualifying questions, you're not only servicing yourself and your time and your abilities, but you're making yourself able to assist that person in a more honest and connected business relationship. Wouldn't you agree?
Right. Yeah, no, I 100%. Because, you know, what I've always wanted to do was, you know, the way that I looked at DJing, whenever I was all the like nonstop, is it's like psychiatry, you know, or, you know, you're playing music, and it's not about the people that are dancing in front of you. It's about the person, whether you're at a wedding, a club, anywhere else. You know, you might see someone that's leaned up on the wall and they're singing. You might see someone that's sitting down and they're tapping their foot or bobbing their head. You know, those are the people that you want to make sure that you're paying attention to. And even in real estate, one of my favorite things is, like, even with music, is that a DJ isn't someone that just plays, all of the hits or, all of the like, it's not nothing like that. And I feel like it's the same thing with real estate. It's like you can sit in all of these homes, but it's that one home that you would never expect. And that might be that one. And it might need some work, it might not be, but it can turn the whole, energy around, and people like that. So
Sure.
I like to narrow everything down and just be truly specific, but treat it the same way that I did with music. And even in the music business, it's like, it's the same thing, it's just in a different ball field.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned, the guy leaning against the wall or the person sitting down tapping their foot, because those are the people that if you can connect with them will be clients for life. Like the guy
Right.
that's up in the middle of the dance floor making a fool of himself and just having a good time. Those are the layup clients. That's the rare client that walks in and goes, "Hey, I'd love to make an offer on this house." And you're like, "Cool, let's write it up." But you get like 2 of those a year. The people that are the wallflowers, that they're sitting in the back, they want to be engaged. You can tell that they want to do more, but they're nervous or they're scared, or I don't know how to dance, or whatever, until that right song comes on or whatever. And so you're constantly kind of curtailing to that lowest common denominator of, okay, cool, these guys out here are going to dance no matter what I play, right? They're just
Right.
in it. How do I engage the peripheral? And in
Right.
our business, I think it's very, very much the same. As you have those confident buyers, first, second, third, fourth time buyers that just, they know it, they get it. I want a 3-2. I want a good school district. This is what I want. I'm good for 250. Let's go. And then you've got those
Yeah.
other people that are like, man, I'm really tired of paying rent. But I had a buddy, and I mean, he got raked over the coals trying to buy a house. I don't think I want to mess with that. And so
Yeah.
that's where building that relationship, being confident in what you know and how you can do that, and really listening to them, which is a hard because most successful agents, much like myself, I'm diagnosing myself, have diarrhea of the mouth, right? They just can't stop talking. They never know when to stop selling. And so really having that pre-frame, like you're talking about, and setting those expectations, it's like I tell my clients all the time, it's just as important for us to walk in a house that you don't like as it is for us to walk into a house that you're going to buy, because most buyers don't know what they want. I mean, they have an outline, right? I mean, they know they want a 3-2-2 in a good school district. Cool. Do you want open concept? Yes, I do. Okay. Have you ever lived in an open concept where the dishwasher is 3 feet from your TV? When you turn on the dishes, you can't hear the TV. I mean, and there's 1,000 what ifs, and so building that relationship early on, I think is important. So
Yeah.
move on to our next portion. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, you're going to be successful in real estate. You'd be successful selling, water bottles on the street corner. I mean, because it's a mind frame. Never accept defeat, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, never accept failure.
Yeah.
Never ever accept failure. So I mean, the thing is when you carry that forward, most people that have been through what you've been through and succeeded in the level that you're succeeding are feeding into, or have a natural desire to bring people up, right? Whether it's an intern or somebody on your team or someone in your personal life, what does that look like for you? Is there anyone, or is there any focus you have that you're trying to feed into that next generation, either by age or by business or anything else?
Yeah, I my hometown, and I often will try and go back maybe 2, maybe 3 times out of the year, just to speak to the kids, and the students in the junior high or the high school, just to let them know, like, hey, and it's always the same thing. I don't ever lead off with the things that I've been fortunate to do. I, kind of give a backstory. This is who I am. This is where I'm from, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll start, dropping some of the names of people that I know that they are like, oh, I know that guy. And
Yeah.
they start to raise their eyebrows, and it's like, oh, I got you, huh? You didn't think that, yeah, I'm a kid just from the same town, and you can do the same exact thing. And I actually would want you to do better than what I've done. So
Sure.
I always try and give back to people that are younger than me, even if it's people that are in the business. Like I have a really good friend of mine out in Alabama. She started and she would call me almost every single day. And because she's like, man, the people in my office, I don't know, like I just feel like they're not helping me. And now she's, she's killing it. I mean, unfortunately, she's with a different brokerage, but
It happens.
that's what it is. But I'm really happy to, share some of the things that I didn't really know or understand whenever I was coming into the business. But now that I know them, I'm happy to do that. But not even outside of real estate, just making sure that people can understand, like, whatever your circumstance is, you do have an opportunity to, make it better for yourself.
No, I agree completely. So I was a professional martial artist for, I don't know, 12 or 14 years or something like that. And, I always taught my students, and I believe this to this day, is that the best way to learn is to teach.
Yeah.
Right. In that industry, we always said the best questions came from white belts, not black belts. That 7-year-old white belt would hit you with a question. You're like, bro, I have never thought of that. I mean, it's just so outside. And so it takes you down a different path. And, it grows us as an individual, but it also feeds us. There is nothing cooler. So we have 16 agents on our team now. And, I love watching them grow. I mean, the money is the money, and I make good money, and that's great, and I mean, I wouldn't get rid of that because I like money, but that being said, what I really get off on is watching these individuals grow and grow up around me. Jack, producer Jack over here is a great example. He was actually a student of mine when you were, what, 12? He started when he was 12, and now he's getting married next week, and so, I mean, and this kid is ridiculous. He's got a degree in nursing. He's got a degree in biology. He's got a master's in finance. And he was like, I think I'm going to go sell real estate.
Sounds about right. Let's just go
about right,
everything else that we.
Yeah, I eliminated everything else I possibly could have wanted to do, and I decided I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
But watching him grow and watching him get married, and I mean, watching him grow financially and physically. I mean, I would say spiritually, he's already much stronger spiritually than I am. He's really, really grounded. But that to me is what I really am passionate about, is, because, maybe it's a midlife crisis. I don't know. But I mean, it's that whole, like, I want to leave my mark somewhere. And if I can leave it in a positive fashion. And your friend in Alabama, and I bet your best friend, you said Jerry, right?
Raymond.
Right. Wow, I was way off. Raymond, I mean, I bet if somebody sat down and talked with him, he would probably say the same thing about you that you're saying about him. I mean, to know that you've had an impact somewhere, a positive impact, because I had a lot of negative impact when I was young, right? I mean, because I was kind of a turd, but I grew out of it and, got positive and everything else. And so I think, we reached this point where you're like, man, this is good. The money comes, the money goes, the jobs come, the jobs go. DJing was a phase. Working with the Globetrotters was a phase. And it's a portion of my life, but it was what I did. It's not who I am, right? I mean, and being able to grow beyond that, I think is so fulfilling.
Yeah, I agree. It's very, like, they're all phases. And I tell, there's so many people, even with like DJs that are coming up. And I see it. I mean, well, one thing that is very comparable in real estate and DJs is ego. Is the ego,
Boy, yeah.
so huge. And it's like, oh, I did this much sales and I killed the club. And I'm like, I'm over here at the point now, it's like, I don't care. Like, I mean, it's like, that's cool. Like, that's what's up. All right. And they're just kind of caught off guard. I'm like, no, like, I don't care to do that. Like, I don't care to have that ego anymore because I've had it. And even whenever I did have that ego, I lost everything. So I'm actually scared to have an ego like that. And which is why I think whenever we had met, I barely even spoke on some of the things that I had done, especially like the Globetrotter situation. It's like, I've done some pretty cool things. I've worked with the Globetrotters. I've worked with 50 Cent. You see, I got a few cool platinum plaques on my wall. So it's like, it's cool, but I don't really speak on it and I'm very humbled and blessed by it. But at the same time, I don't want to let that get ahead of who I am and my character,
Well,
because
again, that goes back to what we were just talking about. That's what
right,
I did. It's not who I am, right?
exactly.
You know, I mean, yeah, that's cool. And yes, I accomplished those things, and that's cool. And it fed into what I have become, but I'm over here now,
Yeah,
right? You know, that's an experience that I share, and I'm happy to share that experience with you, but that doesn't define me.
right.
You know, I mean,
100.
and the fun, and the same thing can be said though for that 17-year-old me that was doing drugs underneath the bridge in downtown Houston. That's something I did, but that's not who I am. It doesn't define me. And so, in the
Right.
same fashion, you know, that ego, right? You know, and I deal with Houston is a tough market, man. Yeah, I mean, we got these agents. Like, I'm very, very proud of the fact that I'm very good friends with the largest real estate team in EXP in the world. They did 635 million in sales last year with
Wow.
like 19 agents, right? I mean, we're gonna do 50 million this year, and I'm like, woohoo, you know. And so, and they're really, really great, and they're humble, and they, you know, but they've got all these businesses and all the stuff they do. And I mean, they're like, hey man, you want to meet up for a sandwich? You know, but then I meet these other people that are doing like 10 million a year, and their shit doesn't stink, and they won't answer phone calls. And they're like, I don't work weekends. I don't answer the phone after 5. I'm like, bro, really?
Oh man, not this guy. I was on my bachelor party, and agent, I was telling her yesterday, and she didn't realize that I was on my bachelor party. She's like, you were answering your phone. I'm like, yeah, like make money, and I also got a client that I told them that this is what I was going to do, and
Yep.
so that's part of my job. So it doesn't stop, but you still want to be respectful of other people's time. It's all about knowing the person rather than the accolades that they have.
Awesome, man. So here's the last question. What's your moonshot? Where are you headed? You know, where is 70-year-old James going to look back and go, I did that?
7 years from now?
No, 70-year-old.
Oh,
So 70-year-old
70.
James going to look back and go, yeah, I killed that. This is what I did. What is that?
Probably living his best life with my soon-to-be wife, and just talking crazy trash to my kids and grandchildren, being like, yeah, like, that ain't nothing, but
That's a great answer.
Being that guy. But
that's so funny, because everyone that I ask that question, it's like, I'm gonna make $50 million, I'm gonna build this thing, and you're just like, bro, I'm gonna be sitting on a porch talking mad crap to my grandkids.
Doing absolutely nothing, because I watched my dad. My parents, they graduated not graduated. He retired, I believe, when he was like close to 60. So, that was a long time ago, but I want to be, living a life where I don't have to worry about anything financially. I want to make sure that my family is okay, my kids or their kids, and building now for something that they can, take and make a legacy even bigger. So it's
And that's
not
an awesome
necessarily
answer.
yeah. So
That's fantastic,
I
man.
don't want to do anything. I want to just enjoy everything. I want to enjoy it all and just say and look back and be like, I did well.
So James, you're up in the Dallas market, correct?
Yeah.
So how can people reach out to you if they're looking to do something up in the Dallas area, if they're looking to connect?
Always on social media, or any social media, or my phone number. I am truly not hard to find. 318-451-7437. That's my phone number. Social media at DJ_Def, DEAF. And on Facebook, James Merritt. That's really it. I do my best to answer accordingly. And I'm here I don't care if you're buying a huge house. I don't care if you're buying, 30,000 house, you're going to get the same experience.
That's awesome, man. Well, James, hey, we really appreciate you taking the time to be here today. You have a fantastic story, and I know that's there's somebody on this podcast that needs to hear that story. I tell everybody that everybody has a story that somebody needs to hear, right? Maybe not everybody, but there's somebody in that audience that's like, man, I needed that. I needed to hear that. I love hearing the rise and fall and the upward scope. Congratulations on the impending marriage. I'm sure she's amazing. And we wish you all the best, and we'll look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody, have a great
All right.
day, and don't forget, hit the subscribe button and come back every week for Expedition New.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, man.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
All right.